Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lukenessmonster, and today we're going to be reviewing the Star Wars The Black Series Anakin Skywalker. This figure is based off of his Clone Wars appearance from the Ahsoka show. Yeah, essentially this is just a new version of that Clone Wars Anakin Skywalker, which I think looks really, really amazing. It is number 17 here in the Ahsoka line. And flipping around to the side of the box, we have this amazing artwork of Anakin Skywalker and just some really, really good likeness to Hayden Christensen on this box. Really loving how that turned out. Flipping around to the back, we do have the bio, which you can pause and read if you would like. And again, another image here of that Anakin Skywalker artwork. Other than that though, there's not a whole lot else going on with the box, so let's go ahead, crack them open, and see what this figure has to offer. Alrighty, so we got Anakin out of the box, and I gotta say, this is one that I have a lot of mixed feelings about, and I know this one is a really controversial figure when it comes to the Black Series. But I gotta say, at the end of the day, I'm still really impressed with this guy, and I truly believe he is a huge upgrade compared to the older version. Now obviously the big controversy is the soft goods robes. They look a little wonky at some points, and I know a lot of people are pretty upset with that. And then of course the arms are a little weird as well, and we will get into that here in just a little bit. So we will get into all the controversy and address it, but really this is a figure that I like, and I think it's definitely the definitive version of Clone Wars Anakin. And to be honest, right now I think it's the best Anakin we have in the line. Let's go ahead, get him off the spinny stand, and take a close look at everything this figure has to offer. So looking at this figure up close, one of the big controversies has to do with the way the soft goods here pretty much is sewn together, because for the actual Clone Wars Anakin look, this kind of like V is supposed to meet down at the belt, and they made it meet like really high up here, and so because of that it just looks a little funky. There should be this pretty much big V right here where it goes from the top of the armor down to the belt and then back up, and it's just completely missing that on this figure. There are some ways around that. You can kind of pull the robes down a little bit, pull the belt up a little bit more. It kind of fixes it a little bit, but for the most part this is definitely just a problem that can't be fixed. And then the other biggest problem that I've seen a lot of people have with this figure is just how long the arms are. The arms are rather long, and specifically I think from like the shoulder here down to the elbow, they just made it a little bit longer than it should be. And you can definitely just tell looking by the proportions of it, it's a little off. It's not something that bothers me too much, because once you get him in like a lightsaber wielding pose, you can't really notice it. But at the end of the day, that's the problem that the old figure had as well, and it's nothing new to this version, and so it's not something that I really dock points for, just because it's not like a new problem that was added. But then of course you have to look at the big upgrade for this figure, and that is of course the head sculpt. Looking at this Hayden Christensen face sculpt, it is just a work of art. It looks so good. The likeness to Hayden Christensen is spot on. I think the hair looks amazing. It's much shorter and more accurate to what I believe the Clone Wars Anakin hair would look like. Overall, I think that this is one of the best photo real likenesses we've ever gotten, and it's just really dang good. Obviously, we'll get more into the figure here in just a second, but to be honest here, the face alone makes it much better than the previous version. We will hop into articulation here in just a second, but I gotta say, a lot of people are complaining about these soft goods robes, but I absolutely love them. I think they're a huge upgrade from the previous version. I just think they look a whole lot more better than the previous version. I think they sit better on the figure, and to be honest, I think the proportions make them look a whole lot more like an actual human is wearing the outfit. Compared to the previous one, they've got this big, bulky plastic. It just makes them look a little disproportionate. So I know some people are complaining about the soft goods robes, but I think it's a huge win, even if the V isn't quite big enough on the chest. It's something that I'm willing to look past just because of how much of an improvement I really think it brings. Next up, moving into articulation, this is where the biggest con comes from for this figure, and that's because it reuses the exact same Anakin body we had previously, but with soft goods instead of hard plastic. And so because of that, it still has the 2013 Anakin legs, so the pin joints. Big bummer there, and I really wish I would have updated those legs. Anyway, then moving into articulation, there is a ball joint at the top of the neck and the bottom of the neck, so tons of range of motion there in the head. You're gonna get pretty much any head looking pose you would like with this guy, which is great. For the arms, they can get up into your T-pose. These shoulder pads here are on the like Black Series O-ring there, so those are always great. The arm can go all the way around here, 365. I will say there are some pretty dang good butterfly joints on this guy as well. One thing that I really like about this one compared to the old one is that on the old one, the robes were connected to this chest piece, and this whole thing right here was one big piece, and it was a harder plastic, and so it was hard to get him into a two-handed pose with the lightsaber. But now, since that overlay is soft rubber, and that it's no longer having to account for the robes underneath, you can get him into a much better range of motion with those butterfly joints, and you can definitely get him into some better two-handed poses. So this is something I really, really like. I don't think I would leave it in that pose for too long because I think that this chest piece could warp over time, but I think it's a big boost in articulation. He does have a ball joint at the waist. He also does have a huge boost in articulation at the legs because there is no hard plastic holding him back anymore. Now, as far as splits goes, unfortunately, he can only come out about this far, but he can get into a pretty solid splits the other way. His leg can kick all the way up here. As far as the knees go, he has double jointed knees here, so great range of motion for the knees, but it's ugly and it looks horrible. So that's the biggest problem with the double jointed pinned legs, is they just don't look very good at all. Looking at the feet, he does have pivots and rockers. I'll also say I think I completely missed the elbows here, but the elbows do get well past 90 degrees, which is great. And then he does have horizontal hinges on both wrists. And to be honest, I think that's another reason why I really like the soft goods on this figure, is because there's no big ugly cut here. This kind of like skirt piece goes from right here all the way around to the back where it has this V, and then all the way around as well. So it's just kind of one solid uniform piece. Whereas you look at the older figure here, and you can see there's a cut down the side, there is that V in the back still, and then there is another cut here. And so you just got these big ugly cuts all over the figure, and really it should be together. And that's one thing that I like about the new one, is it doesn't have those big ugly cuts. So comparing the two figures here, we have the new one on the left and the old one on the right. You can definitely tell there is a big difference. Obviously there is a new chest armor piece for this one, because the old one, it's built into the robes, so to account for the soft goods, he's got a brand new chest armor piece. And I really like the newer chest armor piece. I like the color of it. I like that darker gray rather than the more bluish hinge on the right. And I do like the shape of it. I think the shape just looks a little bit more appealing. And of course the shoulder pads are also new, and to be honest, I like the newer shoulder pads as well. For starters, the Jedi emblem is actually molded into the sculpt of the shoulder pad on the left, where on the right it's just printed on. And to be honest, I think I like the shape of the one on the left a lot better too, just because the one on the right is kind of wide and a little pancake-ish. The one on the left just looks a little bit more practical to me. I will say I think I like where the belt sits a lot better on the figure on the right. It's a little bit lower and a little bit closer to his waist, where the belt on the left is a little higher up, more around his abs, and it just looks a little funky on the guy. But I will say that is closer to what he wore it in the actual Ahsoka show. Hayden Christensen wore the belt pretty high up, and so I would say it is pretty accurate to the live action appearance, but it still looks a little wonky. And then of course that brings us to the face. This one is a no-brainer. The one on the left actually looks like Hayden Christensen, and it looks really dang good. I think the hair is much better too. The one on the right doesn't really look like Hayden Christensen at all. I'm not really sure who it's based off of. I know it's supposed to be Hayden Christensen, but it just doesn't really look like him. I do think the haircut for the one on the right, the older version, is a little bit more accurate to what his hairstyle looks like in the Clone Wars, but the version on the left is just a more realistic adaptation of that, and I do think the one on the left looks much better. Moving on to comparisons. First up, we have the Revenge of the Sith Anakin on the right, and we just have the Clone Wars Anakin, which we were just looking at, on the left. We don't have a ton of Anakin Skywalkers in the line, and so whenever we do get them, it's always big news for the Black Series. And I gotta say, a lot of the Anakins that we do have are feeling a lot dated nowadays. Now, comparing this brand new one here in the middle to some of these older ones on the left and right, I think the one in the middle is just leaps and bounds better. And it just really shows you how desperately we need a brand new Revenge of the Sith Anakin. Next up here, we have the Clone Wars Obi-Wan on the right, and we have the Seasons 3 through 5 Ahsoka on the left. I gotta say, this trio here is really cool to have. We have the main cast, of course, of the Clone Wars, and so getting this Clone Wars trio here is super cool. I think this new Anakin is looking amazing next to Ahsoka as well as Obi-Wan. All three of these are amazing figures, and it's just nice to have them all on the shelf here together. Next up here, we have the two versions of Captain Rex that we have in the line, with the Phase 2 one on the left and the Phase 1 on the right. I think both of these are looking amazing next to Anakin, but I gotta say the weathering on the Phase 2 one is just so superior. I really wish they did more weathering like that nowadays, because a figure like the Phase 1 on the right could be so much better with just a little bit of weathering. But regardless, they still both look really good next to Anakin here. Next up, we have some of Anakin's clones with the Phase 1 501st on the left and the Phase 2 501st on the right. Both are looking amazing, and I'm just glad that we have some of Anakin's clones here for him to lead. And then last up here for grins and giggles, we do have ARC Trooper 5s and Echo next to Anakin, and this is just a display that I love so much. Obviously, if you guys have watched my channel before, you know how much I love ARC Troopers, specifically 5s and Echo, and to get them both posed here next to a Clone Wars Anakin, it's a dream come true. And they both just look so good here all together. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this figure. I know there is a lot of controversy around him, but to be honest, I'm impressed, and I think he's a huge upgrade. I think the face is leaps and bounds better than the previous one. I think the way that the soft goods fit on the figure make the figure look a whole lot more proportional. I also think the soft goods give a big boost in articulation for this guy. And overall, I just think this one is a big improvement. Now, I do think he could be better if, you know, he had updated articulation, better butterfly joints, better knees. But at the end of the day, this is the figure that we got, and honestly, I'm just happy that he is a big upgrade compared to the previous version. I know some people have been trying to do face swaps with this one to the old body, and I just don't agree with that. I think this body is much better, but to each their own. I think this is one that I do highly suggest you guys pick up. If you're a big Anakin Skywalker fan, or just looking for an improvement, this is definitely a pickup for you. That is gonna do it for this video though, so if you did enjoy, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching.